Hey, it is Chris. It is Monday, July 15th. Holy moly. Well, I did not see that coming. So, the attempted assassination on Donald Trump over the weekend is obviously a massive moment in American politics, not just in this race, but in American politics more broadly. We have not seen a president or presidential candidate or former president be subject of an assassination attempt since 1981 when Ronald Reagan was shot outside a hotel in Washington, D.C. He obviously lived. Let's talk about what this means, because the truth of the matter is that there is politics in everything, right? Anything this big, this cultural, this massive has impacts politically, particularly when we're 4 months away from an election and we're on the eve of the Republican National Convention. So let's talk about sort of three big things that I think will go on here. Number one is about Trump. So Trump was already a sort of iconic figure to many people within the Republican base. That will only grow. He's already being talked about in messianic terms. Marco Rubio, Ben Carson put out tweets that suggested Trump was saved by God from being killed by that bullet. Trump himself is sort of talking in those terms, saying he had turned his head and he feels like he's been given another chance, that he should have been dead. These are Trump quotes. So within the Republican base, if there was any doubt about how much enthusiasm there will be to go vote for Donald Trump, that should be gone. These people will crawl over broken glass to vote for Donald Trump because they view him as, in some ways, a messianic figure at this point. Someone who is giving up everything, risking everything for his view of the country. Now, the broader question that I don't know the answer to is, how does it affect people outside the Republican base? I don't think Democrats are all of a sudden going to vote for Donald Trump because somebody tried to shoot and kill him. I don't. But the real issue is, what do undecided voters, persuadable voters, low information voters, does this make Trump, I can't believe I'm saying this, but does this make Trump a sympathetic figure to some of them? Someone who has been victimized by political violence? Does it allow them sort of the ability to go vote for him? If it does, obviously it's a huge, huge thing. So that's piece one. Piece two. I think the let's get rid of Joe Biden effort by Democrats is effectively over. So it's just on the back burner right now. Obviously, when you have a political crisis of the sort of the attempted assassination of a former president, everything else gets pushed to the side. Biden has seized that moment. He has spoken to the American public 3 times in the last 30 hours as sort of a calming force, making an appeal to better angels, calling on the political rhetoric to be dialed down, to be cooled off. I just think it's very hard. The Republican convention, Donald Trump's VP pick, is going to dominate this whole week. And I think it's very, very hard to sort of pick up next week and say, okay, there's a month until the Democratic convention. We have to get Joe Biden out. It feels like that's a momentum game, and that momentum has been lost. So I think Biden winds up as the nominee. Again, I continue to think that's a problem for Democrats. I do not think he is the strongest person to be the nominee. I think people still have major concerns about his age and his ability to do the job, but I think he's going to wind up as a nominee. Now, the third major point, the last major point I want to make is, how does Joe Biden message against Donald Trump going forward? So if you look at the last week before the attempted assassination, Biden was being much more aggressive in the way he talked about Trump, called him a liar, talked about his felony convictions, talked about, sort of what he would mean to democracy if he got elected. It's harder to do that just from a purely political perspective. It's harder to do that when the guy has just been shot at and wounded in an assassination attempt. Now, how long? Oh, and by the way, Joe Biden is out there talking to the public about needing to cool the rhetoric, needing to, tone things down. How long does he stick to that? I don't know, but I would say that Donald Trump is ahead today in polling in swing states and nationally. And I think that given that, Joe Biden needs to find a way to peel some voters off of Donald Trump. The way you typically do that is through a negative campaign, a really aggressive campaign saying this guy is bad. It's hard to do that, at least in the near term, because you're dealing with someone who just survived an assassination attempt. Doing that looks like poor form. So Biden has to figure out, how does he restart those attacks on Trump? Does he restart those attacks on Trump? How does he do it? When does he do it? Does this turn into more of a policy-based campaign where he's attacking Trump on things like abortion, on things like climate, on things like the economy? rather than on personal stuff? I don't know. I think it's a real question. I think the strategy is sort of being made up as they go because we've never been in a place like this in the modern political era. So there is no question what happened on Saturday in Pennsylvania has a vast political impact. I think it is candidly good for Trump. It will help him. It will reaffirm the idea that to his base that he is a victim. It will, I think, draw some sympathy among voters outside of his base. And I think it complicates. Look, it probably allows Joe Biden to remain as the Democratic nominee. But it makes it hard for Biden to decide when, where, and how he is going to begin attacking Donald Trump in these last 4 months before the election. All right, that's it for me today. As always, you can, and I hope you will, like this video, subscribe to this channel, comment on this video, and tell 5 friends. We are over 30,000 subscribers. We are on our way to 40,000 subscribers. Let's do this thing, people. Thank you as always for your support. I'll always try to bring you the latest and best take on the news that is moving politics. It's going to be a busy week. Stay tuned.